Hey, this is Mike Lindsay from Vital MX. We're out here at Fox Raceway today testing out Yoshimura's all-new RS-12 full titanium exhaust system for the 2025 Honda CRF250R. This is a bike that didn't do fantastic in our shootout, but was well received by all of our test riders. Honestly, it's a Honda. It has a great rider's triangle. It's very playful, it's a very fun motorcycle, but we could all use a little bit more power when it comes to the CRF250R, and it's very interested to test out Yoshimura's system because naturally we see it on all their factory racing teams. They have the most involvement and kind of ahead of time knowledge on this bike before it comes out. However, we say it every year, stock exhaust systems are getting very hard to beat on most motorcycles. So at the end of the day, is this exhaust system worth the extra money out of your pocket to improve the CRF250R? When it comes to unboxing and assembly of this system, again, I really appreciate certain quality components that go into Yoshimura's development system. The two standouts for me are the mid-pipe to head pipe, the junction on the mid-pipe. It's basically a full machine sleeve that they weld on. Just has a perfectly round fit against the head pipe. It has great tolerances. I've seen kind of the reducive need of having to put like anti-seize in those things. It just fits so on point. It's not just two round bent tubes that could be ever so slightly off from each other. So that's very well appreciated. I don't run into a lot of struggles getting the mid pipe and the exhaust can off the head pipe, even as you put time on these. The second thing that's really well appreciated, and more from a craftsmanship side, is you look at the hydroformed can on this bike. They've really worked to just create all these little notches. You'll see it when you have the side panel off, just to make all the clearances as perfect as they could. So the side panel has like a resting place for the rubber on the inside, the way the tire clears on the back, the little notches for the brake calipers. They just have done everything they can to maximize their can size and fit and form on this specific model. Talking about the exhaust itself, what's unique is the head pipe. This bike does have a full Reso style chamber, resonance chamber, very nice piece. The head pipe's interesting because if you noted from the outgoing model, they used to run a very long style head pipe on the CRF250R because prior to this, we've all been looking for a little more bottom out of the Honda, a little bit quicker maybe response. The HRC team went the opposite direction with the Lawrences and had a very short header. And then in this last year with Yoshimura and Chance Hymas, they've ended up kind of on this mid-length design, and that's actually what they've brought through for production to the 2025. So compared to the longer header, a big goal with that is just the way the RPM build was. I remember being told on the original short header, it was about getting a quicker pickup feel, but that really short header was built around a complete HRC engine package. This mid design was built for HRC, and they've been able to transfer over to production, and honestly, this pipe is extremely close, again, to the one that the race team is using at this point. So initial on-track feel, where are some of the improvement points in the CRF250R? For me, the mid-range is fun. The initial connection off the bottom is decent, but that low RPM to mid RPM range, it's a little hollow, especially in third gear situations and corners. You just want it to kind of build RPM a little bit quicker there. For me, that was my initial impression of putting the pipe on, is that RPM build rate from low to mid point is better. The engine overall feels more linear. It doesn't have a dip then into acceleration once you kind of get into the mid-meat. It just seems to bridge the gap from initial grasp of the throttle into that mid-range a little bit better, and it continues that throughout the range. Again, for me, the low to mid pickup is the most noticeable change for my personal riding stance, and then also recovery character. Just things where you make mistakes, you're maybe up a little bit to high gear, you've made a mistake coming in the corner and you've let the RPM roll down a lot. Just that pickup being quicker, it gives it a little bit better recovery character and definitely makes it where you don't have to be quite as precise. The actual mid-range output on this bike doesn't feel that much different for me personally with the Yosh. Again, most of the gains for me are that low to mid transition, and then even above that, basically from your mid to top into over rev character, it just isn't as harsh feeling the way it gets up in the limiter. It feels like it pulls through the top better and doesn't have quite of a much of feels well. Like say if I had to give you my little hand impression, stock power a little lack in the bottom, builds up and then starts to taper. Pipe on the Yosh just feels a little bit more linear, just continues through that transition in the bottom. It doesn't feel like it has that dip, and then up top, it just feels like it carries on a little bit farther. I wasn't the only test rider we used today. We also had Steven Tarkowski help us out. We're gonna jump to him and get some of his impressions.
What's up, everybody? My name's Steven Tarkowski. I've been really excited about riding this bike. I feel like the engine power just needs a little bit more, and this bike would be a very good contender for wins and shootouts. And with this RS-12 pipe, I think they did a great job. They improved low power and torque feeling. I feel throttle to rear wheel connection is much improved. For me, mid to top was really improved. It was stronger pulling, smoother, and longer pulling on over rev. I had some vibration feeling with the standard exhaust. High RPM, just the machine felt like vibrating a lot. And this pipe really helped that out. It seems like the machine's happy at high RPMs with this exhaust on it. And yeah, I could ride third gear in my corners a lot easier. And yeah, for me, it's a positive, but some people it might be a negative because it's a little more difficult entering corners, but I really like the less engine braking. And just made the bike feel more free and a little more easier to corner into deep ruts. For me, I could roll my speed a little better, and it just made it a little easier to corner overall. So yeah, I did have the opportunity to ride the RWE last week and get a good feeling on that bike. And for me, I'm really impressed with just putting a pipe on this bike, how much more of a gap it gains towards the RWE. So for me, now it's closer to the RWE than it is closer to the standard machine. And yeah, I have some background in production testing. I've done 7 years of Yamaha production testing, and I know how much work and time goes into building a stock standard exhaust. And it's not just slap something on there. They do a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of durability. So to come out and ride a pipe that I think is better overall everywhere is pretty impressive to me. And yeah, kudos to the Yoshimura guys for really doing a good job with this thing. For me, yeah, I've ridden the YZ a lot, and it's tough to rank them, but yeah, for me, the Honda with this pipe is getting pretty close to the YZ for me. I feel it's a little more longer pulling and smoother up top, and it doesn't drop on its face as much, and it's almost there on chassis and suspension, a little bit behind for me, but yeah, it's impressive bike for me. I was pretty happy with what I rode today. And as always, if you have any comments or questions, please drop them in the comments below. And if you like this content, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video.